What's going on, everybody? This is Roaming Prepper again. I'm your host, Pete. Thanks for joining me. Today will be yet another part of the Domino effect series. And today's is very controversial. Now, I've covered martial law, I've covered economic issues, and a few other topics. So I encourage you to look at the playlist I have, the Domino effect. This will be yet another chapter. But today I want to talk about another domino that affects the quality of life and can affect civilization and society on a larger scale, and that's lawlessness. It's the lack of enforcement that, for whatever reason, started occurring in 2020 during the election and has transcended to a point where people have left cities in droves. But there's a flip side to it. Moving away is all fine and dandy, but then it causes other problems somewhere else. So I'll be right back, and let's talk about how lawlessness is a domino that affects society. So hang on just a second. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining me once again. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to share my video, that's always appreciated as well. And if you have any questions, and for some reason I miss my own premiere, which does happen from time to time, feel free to leave comments and questions below, even if you just want to say hi. So today's topic, which will be certainly an interesting one, is lawlessness. Right, so let's do some talking. So since 2020, after the Rona shutdowns, now during the shutdowns, obviously everybody was locked down and there was a big decrease in crime. What there was not a decrease of is online threatening and domestic violence. So because people, victims of domestic violence, could not escape their abuser, because where were they going to go, right? Everything was shut down. And there was a limitation as to what services were available. Domestic violence, domestic murders took off, and that was kind of a unique situation. But once you got past that and things started to open up, between the monetary effect, like I said, throwing a lot of money into the economy, printing money basically, at the same time the GDP was not going up, energy prices were going up because they were squishing down drilling and other energy resources. And again, you see how these dominoes all play into one another. What we wound up having is where we are now in 2023, very significant inflation. In order to stop the inflation, the Fed, I love the squeaky toy again, the Fed has increased rates to where people aren't buying houses. We're probably going to have a housing and auto market crash in the near future. And when all these things play together, you wind up in a scenario where people lose their homes, they lose their jobs, they lose their livelihoods, they start to self-medicate, and they go on the street and commit crimes. And that's bad enough, but when you don't enforce law, the general public suffers, and it starts to create other economic consequences. So first and foremost, I'm going to start with, where is it? Hold on, just bear with me just a second here. So that was not what I wanted. Hang on, bear with me here. So the first thing, the relocating, right? So here's from Borowitz and Clark, LLP. This is a legal firm. Californians are relocating in huge numbers. Where are they going? Okay, so as you all know, California has decided to take this amazingly stupid policy. They say it's woke. It's not woke. It's idiotic. And they're just not enforcing quality of life laws. So thefts under $1,000, they're not even going to mess with. And when you have a theft under $1,000, that's still significant to the store owner, right? Especially if you're a small store. If you own a private business, $1,000 could be your take for the entire day. And if you lose it in inventory, or you call the cops and nobody shows up, it's either up to the store owner to deal with it. And then if they hurt someone, they could get sued and ruin their job anyway, ruin their business. or they let it go and they take the financial loss and they shut their doors. And that's exactly what has been going on. Now, there are people who've actually reached out to me quite hatefully and saying, that's not true. Yeah, it's freaking true, because I know small business owners who shut their doors because they just can't deal with it. Add to that the inflationary effect, the supply chain issues, all the other horrendous stuff. And, you know, it's rough going for most people. So where are they going? In 2021, so this is a little bit old, 2021, about 360,000 people relocated from California to another state, or in some cases, another country entirely. That's up from about 275,000 the year before, and both of those numbers represent significant increases in pre-pandemic departure rates. Quality of life, safety, crime, inflation, and higher interest rates just make no sense to stay in that state. So where do they go? They're going to Texas, they're going to Tennessee, they're going to New York, they're going to Denver, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. And what they're doing, they're taking their overpriced homes, taking that cash, dropping it in lower markets and inflating those markets as well. Now that companies are requiring them to come to work in person, they're either trying to find new work, or now they're having to sell their house, but with the inflation and interest rates, they can't move the home. So they move from, say, LA to Texas. They're like, oh, I can work remote, thinking stupidly that'll last forever. It didn't. The company's like, no, your butt has to come back. And now they either have to find a new job, which are now saturated in places like Austin, or they have to move back and at a higher interest rate, and they're just going to lose their butt. So the crime adding to this, people getting their homes broken into. California, apparently, if you go on vacation and somebody squats in your home, and again, if you're informed better than I am on California, New York, a few of these states, please chime in the comments. But my understanding is a squatter who's there for more than 2 weeks can just stay there. The police cannot remove them. Now, you can remove them, but now you're putting yourself at risk because someone's in your home. Now in Texas, obviously, I come home and there's a stranger in my house. They will probably wind up taking a horrendous beating and being bitten by dogs, if not getting shot. They certainly, if I call the law, they'll be thrown out. But they're using squatters' laws that have been modified to pacify these what I can only describe as leftist communist idiots, and they're ruining private homes. So you're losing. The housing market in California is taking a hit. The interest rates are going the other way. Everything is adding up against these folks. Now, what do? They go to other states, but many of those states do not have the infrastructure to handle that kind of influx. And what do you have? Now, the roads are not great. The crime rate goes up because the crime follows, and you get more of the same. You've now transferred the problem from California or LA to other places. So another factor, it's not just the private individuals that are leaving the states. Another example, Fox 2 on the West Coast, major retail brands threaten to close stores over rampant retail theft. They're talking here that, as we've seen, Walmart's, Target's, Best Buy's, all sorts of brands are basically closing their doors in Seattle, in Portland, Oregon, in LA, and San Francisco. They're just giving up because they're taking such a horrendous loss. At the end of the day, a business can't run if that store's in the red. Even worse, you're having situations like this. Target CEO, this is from Yahoo Finance. Target CEO, we're seeing more violent incidents in our stores, and it's costing us millions. If I'm an employee and someone's trying to rob the store and they hurt me in the process, I'm going to sue Target. Target's now on the hook for $20 million for my injuries. And then I'm going to have pain and suffering. People are not going to go to the stores anymore because they're afraid. And you know who winds up hurting the most? The working class folks who can't afford to or have the time to get in the car and go shopping in the next town over. right? A lot of the stores that are in the inner cities or in the urban areas have higher prices than the stores in the country, not just because of the tax rate, but because they know a lot of their population is dependent on mass transit, and they can charge a little more because they know you can't go somewhere else, and they know it. Well, now, if the store either closes or is so rampant in crime that the prices have been increased to make up for those losses, it's going to be the working class folks who are going to hurt the most, right? The guy who, you know, the lawyer who makes, you know, $400,000, $500,000 a year is going to get in his Jaguar and drive to the next city to go to Target. He doesn't give a rat's. He has a gated community. But for the guy who's working in the garage, or the teacher, or the mechanic, or all the other folks who make our country work, guess what? They lose overtime if they have to take 4 hours to go to freaking Target. So this is also not only hurting them, it's hurting the companies, it's putting the employees at risk, and people are leaving. I won't stay in a town where all the stores are shut because nobody's enforcing the law. And you see how this cascades. Then with the stores closing, people start to leave. The city has less tax revenue, so they have less police on the street, less services to deal with the problems, and then you get more crime, and it just perpetuates. It's a negative cycle. And the fact that our politicians just don't see this absolutely blows my mind. Now, a lot of counties are absolutely frustrated, and one of them, this is from The Citizen, says shoplifting and retail theft must be stopped locally. They kind of get it. There are a lot of places who are saying, hey, this is out of hand. As a matter of fact, in Austin, Texas, during my last trip, all the homeless encampments that were all over the city, they were in parking lots in Target, they were between the highways, they were attacking cars, they were peeing on cars, throwing urine at cars. Guess what? They were gone. Do you know why? Because the people in Austin got pissed off. Even the transplants from San Francisco and LA said, we left because of this crap and you guys have done it again. And they voted out all the former San Francisco and LA people who somehow finagled their way into the city council. So you can affect this locally, kick the idiots off your city council. Get involved locally. It does indeed make a difference. These folks are an example of it, and they're now trying to change the way things are going in their county. And this is Fayette County, but in Austin, they voted out 2 or 3 members, and even though they were replaced, one was a Republican replacement, but the other one was replaced by a Democrat. The Democrat was someone from Texas. It was someone who understood that this doesn't fly. It does not take a genius to figure out that if people get mugged or things get stolen, stores will close because no one wants to go shopping. The fact that these utopians can't understand this just absolutely floors me. But in any case, violent incidents in Targets, right? There are violent incidents elsewhere. Just go look on Twitter, go look on YouTube, go look on TikTok. You can find all this stuff. And what it does, it hurts the people who live there. And at the end of the day, it mainly hurts the working class folks who really can't afford to take that much time off to go grocery shopping. Not only that, when you're not enforcing quality of life laws, criminals get bold, they get brave, they get brazen because they think I can get away with anything. Here's an example of, hold on a second, KXAN, which is an NBC affiliate. This is in Travis County. Raul Mesa, 62, confessed to murdering his roommate, Jesse Fraga, 80, and implicated himself in the murder of Gloria Lofton, 66, in 2019. 3 years after he was released from jail, they told me, when they told me she got murdered, I said, what? Said Sergio Rodriguez of East Austin, who knew Lofton. She knew me since I was a little kid. They're now looking into murders going back as far as the 80s. Guys, this guy, now the murderer is 62. Okay, he's old, way older than me. He was murdering people when I was a kid. Apparently, this is the thing he's done. And because they've defunded law enforcement, or they're just not enforcing the laws, cops are like, I'm not going to chase this criminal because the DA is an idiot and is going to throw it out. So the cop's not going to put him or herself at risk of injury chasing a moron if they know it's not going to come to anything. They're going to just let him go and make a report. And that's it. They're completely reactive at this point. And actually, they're not even reacting. They're doing paperwork and letting you figure it out. And now you're going to get brazen. There's been at least one report, multiple reports of what they suspect is a serial killer. Now, if this is the guy, we don't know. But he's been killing people around Lady Bird Lake in Austin. Now I'm hearing there's another one in Vegas and another one in Denver. When you have less police and you don't enforce the law, criminals with compulsions for violence will get bold. They will get brave because they don't think they're going to face a consequence. And this is exactly what winds up happening. So as you can see, these things all tie into one another. This is not something that simply is an existence all by itself. Oh, we just won't enforce the law. We arbitrarily say anything under $1,000 we don't care about. Because if 8 different people in the course of a week steal $1,000 from a private store, that's $8 grand. That's probably the person's entire take. The average 1,500 square foot retail place in Houston, for example, will run you about $2 grand a month in rent. It's a little over $1 a square foot. On a cheap side, it goes up from there. But let's assume a cheap, like a little bodega, a little corner grocery, a boutique, whatever you want to envision. What winds up happening? They're going to close. And when they close, they're going to wind up taking jobs. And the quality of life in that neighborhood is going to go down. So folks, the risks of not enforcing law is real, and it needs to be addressed, folks. And until our leaders get that, it's going to be another domino in the domino effect, which we're witnessing real time right now in our society. So folks, that's it for this one. I hope this was informative. Watch your 6, watch your back, because they're out there causing trouble. And I will be posting a video, if I haven't already by the time this goes live, about something that happened to someone in my family and what was done about that. God bless. I'll see you later.